Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squared for boxing news and views from around the internet. It certainly took long enough, but Dillian Whyte has finally got an opponent for his August 19th fight. That's when he'll face the little-known Malcolm Tan on the highly anticipated Crawford-Indongo card in Nebraska. Bryant Jennings, he also has an opponent now. He'll face some of Joseph Parker's leftovers in the form of Daniel Martz. I'll cover three things in this video: thoughts on Whyte's opponents and what's next, the return of Bryant Jennings after a long hiatus, and I'll just conclude with a little bit on the general sloppiness in getting this undercard rounded out. It's been a little bit untidy, to say the least. You know, Top Rank and its broadcaster ESPN still don't have complete details up on their websites at the time this video was first published. So Dillian Whyte and Malcolm Tan. Probably not quite the US debut Eddie Hearn had originally envisaged, but given we almost had Whyte versus a faded and jaded Michael Grant, this definitely could be seen as a very minor step up. Although you have to say Tan has only had 2 fights in the past decade. That's 2 fights since 2007. But unlike Grant, who hadn't had a win for 6 years, Tan got the W last year. Let's take it for what it is. Stay busy fight to blow away some of the ring rust from essentially a 9-month layoff. I'm still unclear if this fight is even part of the televised card. I mean, concrete details are a bit thin on the ground here. So I will come to that. But judging by the Whyte-Grant fight, when that was originally scheduled, that was going to be on the non-televised part of the fight. So we'll just have to see where that ends up. I have to admit though, Dillian Whyte, if you've seen some video of him recently, he's actually looking in pretty good shape. So clearly he has not been sitting on his hands all these months. We know he's been a beast on social media, calling out a slew of fighters, but I mean, his conditioning has been called into question before, but clearly he's been matching his social media output with output in the gym. I guess in this case, it's, well, you normally wouldn't look through a fighter. I think in the case of Malcolm Tan, it's pretty safe to assume that he's going to get through him. But what next? What is next for Dillian Whyte after Malcolm Tan? I mean, many of the heavyweight division's other top fighters, they're tied up at the moment, or they're sitting and waiting for their mandatory shot. Someone like Luis Ortiz, for example. So who could Whyte face next? And maybe more importantly, becomes the big question of when, because I think it's when that it's the crucial part. I mean, we already know he could take that Chisora fight anytime he wants, but as Eddie Hearn has said, both Whyte and Chisora, they want too much money for it, and Hearn feels it's not a pay-per-view fight. I agree with him on that front. I think it's more of a fight that you want to see on a decent card, but it's near the top of the bill, but not on top. If it was to be on another Joshua card, for example, that would be great. I'd really look forward to that fight. I think what we might see is that he may hold out for a Joseph Parker fight. That is, of course, if Joseph Parker beats Hughie Fury on September 23rd. But that would be something, surely it would be in the new year, most likely. I mean, we know Eddie Hearn has met with Parker's promoter, Duco Events, and they've got a couple of contract offers in the wind, apparently. But they're trying to set Whyte up with the title fight, any title fight. And if he wins that, any title that is, he can set up a super mega rematch with Anthony Joshua. And that would be a huge fight in the UK. Seemingly for now, though, I mean, the other champion at the moment, Deontay Wilder, he clearly doesn't want that work from Dillian Whyte. Hearn has put offer after offer to Wilder. For whatever reason, he doesn't want it. And he has been giving off a bit of a vibe that it's a bit like Joshua or bust. Then again, who can really blame him? A lot of other fighters are calling out Joshua's name. They also want that mega payday. If I had to guess, though, I think Eddie Hearn will try to line up that big payday with Joseph Parker should he get through Fury, and Chisora is the backup. Now, in terms of Bryant Jennings, I'm really glad to see him come back to the ring. He'll be up against Daniel Martz, a 15-4-1 journeyman. Similar to Whyte, Jennings shouldn't have too much trouble getting through Martz. He's actually been out of the ring for nearly 2 years, Jennings has. His last fight was near the end of 2015 against Luis Ortiz. He lost that fight in comprehensive fashion. His prior fight to that was against Klitschko. So, and he lost that clearly, but so he certainly can't be accused of never testing himself. He's just come out on the wrong side. As I understand it, though, Jennings has stayed busy training in his time away from the ring, and he's been part of a few camps. He's actually quite a noted gym rat. I mean, just why he's been out this long is a little bit of a head scratcher. Yeah, perhaps he's been dealing with a chronic illness, a chronic injury that's been undisclosed. I mean, we really don't know. Or maybe it's just a confluence of factors that's, conspired against him to keep him out of the ring, and circumstances have gotten, in his life have got in the way. Given though he's stayed relatively active, I'm really interested to see how he sort of shakes down, and will he show us anything different? He's had a couple of years almost to work on a few things, so perhaps he has been honing something, and perhaps we'll see a different look or two from him. But in terms of this Crawford-Indongo card, great headline fight by the way. I'm sure we'd all agree. But man, sorting out some of these undercard fights, oh man, painful. Left to the last second. It's just super, super untidy. Before I went to the Top Rank website and couldn't even get a beat on what the full card actually looks like. ESPN was a little better, but there was still a couple of TBAs on their fight card. I mean, we're less than 2 weeks out from fight night. It's untidy, and fight fans deserve better. I mean, from what Whyte has said publicly, Eddie Hearn, his promoter, didn't want to stump up a big purse for his fight. I mean, remember, it is a top ranked card. Whyte was just sort of crashing in. They wanted to have his American debut. But remembering the purpose of that debut and originally was meant for him to, fight someone decent and make a bit of a splash and an impression. So, they've certainly dialed that all the way back and then some. This whole thing should have been a lot tidier, but it is what it is. I mean, it's not going to detract from the night, because it's going to be a great night of boxing. That Crawford-Indongo fight will be a humdinger. And obviously, Jennings back in the ring, Whyte back in the ring. Keen to see what they're shaping up like. Okay, that's it from me. Hit like and subscribe. I'm out.